So our friend Jeffrey Smith, who's been spearheading the GMO issue for about 10 years or so, and if you all recall, in California they had an initiative drive recently that did not pass regarding labeling in that state. And I'm just going to use this as a similar analogy because the chemtrail issue is actually very, very closely tied from a legal perspective to the GMO issue. And then what Jeffrey attempted the initiative writers to do was to write a law that would not be challenged or overthrown should it pass. And if you pass a law, let's say for GMO labeling, based on, adverse health effects, things of that nature, those types of initiatives will be thrown out in the court of challenge. And guarantee Monsanto would have challenged that law had it been passed and it would have been thrown out.
Because it threatens legal.
What's that? No, because the legal system will not take legal challenges based or accept legal challenges based on health effects, whether it's cell phone towers, chemtrails, GMOs. But what Jonathan Emord had suggested, who is a top FDA attorney, who actually has offices in Virginia, Washington, D.C., and Scottsdale, who would be something that you could have consult with and should have consult with on writing an initiative for the chemtrail issue as well, is that if the initiative in California had passed and been written based on commercial speech, that we have the right and the freedoms, the absolute right to know what's in our food and what's in our skies. No differently. We have that right under the commercial laws. Supreme Court would upheld that type of law, where it would not uphold a law based on a health challenge. So the writing of the initiative is the most important part of it. It's not just putting a bunch of words on paper and passing the ballots and getting people to vote. And it was something I learned being involved in litigation, being involved in the court system, in the federal courts for many, many years, was that if you want a case to prevail, you have to actually think it through from the highest level all the way back to the lowest level. Not from the lowest level on the street level all the way back the other direction. So if you want your law to prevail, you've got to look at it from, well, international law may or may not apply here, but from the Supreme Court down to the appeals level, down to the federal district court, down to the state laws, and to the local laws, to see that it would meet the challenge at every step of that process.
Excellent. And in addition to that, the law, this moment, I lost my train of thought. In addition to that, Jeffrey, the good news is that we introduced Jeffrey to Mr. Emord, and so that now they're working together. And to my knowledge, Vermont has the GMO initiative on the ballot, and it's the first state to do so. When we talked with Jeffrey Smith, who you might know is the only American who has been traveling for 10 years nonstop to talk to people about GMOs, he said that there are many different groups, and so because of all the groups, there's a diffusion of energy. And so at this conference this winter, I asked him, what can we do to concentrate our energy? What would be the one state that we can all focus on, regardless of where we are geographically? And he said, that's an excellent question. That state would be Washington State. And so with the Raw Vegan folks, I rallied thousands of people to get involved. And now it looks like Washington has a good chance of winning. And I'm wondering if we have any other, that's with the GMOs, any other updates on that. And then we'll get back to chemtrails, which is our topic tonight. You can see how they're very intertwined. There is no actual barrier between them. And so the more we know about all these topics, the more we'll know about chemtrails. We have a question from the back there.
Yeah.
How many of you can stay till 7 o'clock? Everybody? No. Okay, because after this question, I want to say a couple of important things because I feel people have to go and do some things, some people.
Hi, I interview all the people that you're talking about. That's what I've been doing for the last 10 years and following the chemtrail thing for about 13. And I just wanted to make a couple of points because it will speak to what you're talking about. One of them is I was following it very intensely, 2001, 2002, calling every morning, taking the National Weather Service, FAA, finding out, I'm watching this, I hear your humidity factors, it's not lining up. Finally, I made it to the head of the western region of the FAA and the public information officer, which theoretically they can't lie to you. So anyway, I kept pressing for information and finally said, is the reason you will not tell me about these flights that are going over that are not acknowledged by the FAA, that the meteorological services deny as well, because this is a military operation? And the man said, yes. So that's the only formal proof I ever got in all my research, was that one person admitting it's a military operation. However, the one other piece I wanted to add is that Monsanto, I don't know if they've been granted, maybe some of you know, but they have applied for a patent for chemtrail-resistant seeds. So that gives you a little bit of evidence of the collusion between agribusiness. Yes, Monsanto, and they now can produce it. If they didn't exist, they wouldn't be applying for that. And then one other thing, just to take care of the body, I've interviewed a lot of people on this topic, and one I interviewed did not talk about this publicly, but he did tell me privately. He invented a product, Dr. Edward Group of Global Healing Center, developed a product called Allertrex. And he told me off camera, he's an amazing formulator, young guy, he's rabid about good health. And he created this thing for chemtrails. It doesn't say that, it says for allergies. It's called Allertrex, and his company's called the Global Healing Center. And you spray it you breathe it down into the lungs, and you can also breathe it upward. But the whole point is to cleanse your lungs and your breathing cycle while you sleep at night from the ill effects of chemtrails. And yet everything's in there. Edward Group. So I just wanted to pass those 3 bits on.
What's your name?
Regina Meredith.
Sedona?
I am a Sedona, yes. And I do this for a living. We had Conscious Media Network, and I'm with Guy TV, and my job is to interview all those guys.
Okay, before anybody leaves, just want to bring out a few points, is that we have a sign-up sheet in the front, and probably half of you signed it. We're not going to bother anybody with the names or use it for some kind of solicitation. But we'd like to keep this momentum going, and how many of you would be interested in being part of an active committee of some kind, or even going and getting signatures for putting things on the ballot, or just taking some kind of action? Okay, so we want you to put your name with that kind of thing on there. I'm just saying this before they go. We're going to let everybody talk again. And a little more. We want more questions from the audience. Is David here from the Chocolat Tree? He and his daughter are the owner of that famous, raw food restaurant called the Chocolat Tree. I have to share with you something that he said. I thought, I wanted to help put this together, and I made that poster, that cool poster. Did you all see our poster?
Yes.
Wasn't that cool?
Yeah.
Especially Mr. T. Anyway, I thought we need some activists, some young people especially, who go door to door maybe and get ballots, signatures, get something on the ballot. Is that what you call it? And I thought that'd be a good place. People that go there, different types, but those type of people go there. So he said, I have a difference of opinion about what you're going to do at this meeting. And it's kind of, my opinion is radical. I would be interested to share it with your organizers, but I don't think I'm interested how you're going to go about it. So I went down there to talk to him, and I have to share this with you. He said he was going to he had something going on tonight, but he wanted to share this with you. So I'll just put it to you and see what you think. He said, as Paul here said, and that these entities that are doing this, they're not small entities. They're controlling governments. How could they get away with doing something like this? So he said, if you go through the ballot process and so forth, you're going to hit the government and the government. He didn't think that was the best way to do it. Although anybody knows when you have a war or attack, you can try different fronts to get the enemy on. So he said this is what he's interested in. He would like to hire a plane or a jet with a couple scientists on board and a machine that will analyze samples of what they're spraying